5 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m., it is Friday, April 12th, 2019. Finally Friday. It is 34 degrees outside. Shane Matobin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. How you doing, man?
I'm alive and well, buddy. Eating my cookies and drinking my coffee. Let's go, go, go.
All right, we're ready to rock and roll this morning. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house here on the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Hey, if you want to be a part of the big broadcast, that's an easy thing to do. All you got to do is pick up the phone, 522-TALK, 522-8255, or you can message us at 478-8298. And also on your smartphone, when you open our app, you'll see a button for listen to us. But right next to that button, you'll see a button that says message us. So you can message us right there. So two ways to get to us. So it's easier to use that than it is the text. Then, hey, take your pick. You can...
Yeah, if you have a button fetish, you'll love this.
Yeah, if you're buttoned down, you're ready to go, man. So we are ready to hop into all kinds of stuff today. It's been a pretty hectic week, Shane, and we're finally to the end of Friday. Friday, I'm ready for it. I'll tell you.
I gotta tell you, I love you, big guy. I mean, the righteous eagle, man, my good friend, gives me this time on radio during the greatest historical events in his country.
What can I tell you, man?
I mean, no, seriously, what's going on right now is like huge. I mean, this is historical in nature, man. It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Nope, we're having a pretty good time here. Washington, D.C. is keeping us entertained. The debates are coming up. We'll be talking about those. Those will be a radio dream. And we got the election.
Monday night.
Yeah, we got Monday night. We got Bernie Sanders talking to Fox News, of all people. That should be interesting.
His first television interview with probably hardball questions because the other networks. But I mean, after announcing, I'm a millionaire because I wrote 2 books.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Uncle Bernie, give me a break.
Well, anyway, he's going to release his tax return, so I guess we'll see what he did. So.
No, but the difference is at least, Trump bragged about the fact I'm a billionaire. Look at this plane. You know what I mean?
Well, that's right.
He did go out going, I'm a socialist and I hate millionaires.
Yeah. Hey.
I guess I should tell you I'm a millionaire.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Let's be okay on that because.
Yeah. Exactly.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at our weather around the Bozeman area today and Livingston and all around our valley here. We're looking for a high of 40 degrees today. AM clouds. PM, it'll be sunny in the afternoon or late afternoon. Very little chance of any precip or anything, less than 25%. And tomorrow on Saturday, 49 degrees will be the high, 34 the overnight low. It'll be mostly sunny all day, so that should be pretty nice. Get out and recreate a little bit, do a little yard work, get the plantation ready for spring. And on Sunday, 45 degrees will be the high, 28 the overnight low. We are looking for some showers in there, 1 to 3 inches of, snow or whatever, about a 50% chance, though, so I don't know. And that's going to also go over into Monday. 44 will be the high, 29 the overnight low. They are looking for 1 to 3 inches there, and 1 to 3 inches on Tuesday as well. So it's going to be a hodgepodge of rain and snow between late Sunday and into almost Wednesday, I guess. We've got snow and rain forecast all through those days. And 45 on Wednesday, as I mentioned, 48 on Thursday, and then everything leaves. We go back to mostly sunny, and on Friday next week, we're looking for a high of 53, overnight low of 33. So that should be pretty good. Livingston right now is 28 degrees and cloudy. Manhattan's 33. Three Forks is 32 degrees, and Galton Gateway is 30. Ennis is 25, Gardner is 25, and down or up at Big Sky, depending on where you want to be, it's 19 degrees there. At the airport in Belgrade, it's 32 degrees right now. And in our lavishly appointed studios here in downtown Bozeman, it's 34 degrees at 10 minutes after the hour. And Shane, we got a phone call already, so let's start rocking. Call you on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, Tom. Just for your information, I know you don't have any windows.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm on 191 heading south for Big Sky. Not even out of the valley yet, and it's dumping out here. So anyway,
Are you dumping snow or are you dumping rain?
It's dumping snow and rain.
Okay.
It's doing both. So just you said there's no chance of precipitation. So
Okay, well, Montana. That's right.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks for the update. I love it. Thanks for the update. Yeah, fool me once, fool me 800,000 times. You're the weatherman.
Exactly. I was just gonna say.
I don't trust this weather crap. I live in Montana. I've seen snow every month of the year, so we can't.
Yeah. If you don't think the Golden Valley isn't magical, go outside and look out.
I was going to say, yeah, if you don't like the weather, wait 10 minutes.
Yeah,
it's going to be different.
Precisely.
So. Well, boy, I don't know. It's been quite a weather week as the Midwest is really getting hammered.
What do they call it? A bomb storm?
Yeah, bomb. Yeah. Every year they come up with these new words. We got to learn these. I don't know. The meteorologists must meet in the summer and say, "Okay, we need some new words, guys."
Yeah. Remember 20 years ago they had that big argument about just calling hurricanes by women's names.
Right. Yeah. Now they call them everything. Yeah. So.
And now they call them. Yeah. They can call them your aunt too.
Yeah. From our text line, 478-8298, I don't think streaming app is working again, and it's not. We're off again, and sorry for that. It's very frustrating for Shane and I because we're trying to get a job here, and we can't reach the listeners. It's kind of tough to do that. So
it's sort of tough for me because I like to listen to the show.
Well, I know.
Support the show. And,
that's right.
For me, the way I do it is go on my computer, KMMSAM.com.
That's right.
And I click on the listen live. So of course, I always look at Tom's blog.
Of course. Yeah. You got to look at that. So,
yeah.
Our poll question of the day: how old were you when you went on your first date?
14.
Were you 14? Yeah,
I was.
I think I was 14 or 15. I think I put 15 down, but I had a definite problem because I didn't graduate. Well, I graduated when I was 17. So everybody in my class as a junior was older than I was.
Right.
So they could all drive.
Right.
I didn't get my driver's license till I was
late
till I was before I was a senior.
Birthday,
before
right?
I was a senior. Yeah, I know. So I'm always double dating with everybody. I was a pain in the butt for all my friends.
Oh, that's good.
On the farm, we started driving when we were about 12, I think. I drove the truck around and, tractors and all of that stuff. But, I couldn't drive on the highways. So
it's hard to go on a date with a tractor, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. You got to, when you live in
put her up in the bucket, don't you?
Yeah. When you live in farm country, well that's kind of cool, though. You go out and, you go out in the middle of the field, you get in the bucket, you put it up, and you're looking at the stars. It's pretty cool.
With a blanket,
That's right. Of course, a blanket. And whatever, and the mosquitoes and the gnats and all the bugs in the field and everything else are there to
and you
help you out.
complained to your date how you had to take it down to the river and wash the bucket out before you picked her up.
Well, yeah, I had to polish it up, and put some flowers around the outside of it. And,
daisies!
I got some daisies around the outside.
You love me, you don't. You love me, you don't.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, the British are at it again, Shane.
Top of the list.
Top of the list. 1606, England's King James I decreed the design of the original Union flag, which combined the flags of England and Scotland.
Well, yeah, this is a real quick story, and the reason is the meaning of it, but also to give people an understanding of what's all these red, white, and blue crosses on the Union Jack.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the British have a flag institute. It's the only one in the world most recognized, of course, being what they are and all the flags they have. So they literally have this institute that keeps records of all the global flags. And it's pretty neat because it's an inventory and they have a museum. The origins of the flag of Great Britain go back to 1601. James VI of Scotland had inherited the English and Irish thrones in 1603 as James I, thereby uniting the crowns of England and Scotland and Ireland in a personal union. Although the three kingdoms remain separate states, but to unite them on the 12th of April, 1606, he established a new flag. Now, the only reason, as I said, this is interesting. So by royal decree, according to which the flag of England, a red cross on a white background known as St. George's Cross, and the flag of Scotland, a white saltire on a blue background known as the saltire of St. Andrew's Cross, would be joined together, forming the flag of England and Scotland for maritime purposes. So there you go. That's the reason you see those crosses on the Union Jack. Now, that's an interesting story.
All right. We got to take a quick break, and we'll be back. Headwaters Livestock and Troy Miller want to talk to you. So we'll be right back. 18 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Friday, April 12th, 2019, 34 degrees outside. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane, and we're doing the day in history here, Shane, and it's an interesting day. It always is. And
always is.
Yeah, in 1877, the catcher for Harvard's baseball teams, James Tyng, T-Y-N-G. Tyng?
Is it time?
Tyng? Is it time? I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, it is time.
James wore a modified fencing mask behind the plate. It's believed to be the first time a catcher's mask was used during a game.
That's right. And he wore the catcher's mask while playing for Harvard College in 1876. Mm-hmm. The team manager, Fred Thayer, received a patent for the mask in 1878. How
Really?
Smart was he?
Whoa, there we go. Got the catcher's mask patent.
Exactly. He didn't go on to have a really great baseball career, but what I can tell you was he tried out golfing and played in the 1897 U.S. Open.
Wow.
And he took the 12th place.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I find it amazing. It wasn't until, gosh, I guess it was back in the 60s or so, but hockey goalies never wore a mask. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Get beat in the head with they didn't have any teeth left after.
Well, yeah. I mean, their faces, they were ugly men.
I know. Well, in fact, the other night, somebody smacked a puck and it bounced off one of the players' faces and went into the goal.
He went into the net.
So you're not even safe outside the goal.
I know, outside, yeah. The gear they wear now is remarkable. It really is, considering.
It is. 1945, President Franklin D. Roosevelt died of a cerebral hemorrhage in Warm Springs, Georgia, at the age of 63. And why is that news today?
Well, because he wasn't alone.
Well, he wasn't alone. Okay. Well, that wasn't the news I was thinking of, but okay.
Okay, well, it is to me. With all the stuff about women's issues and stuff, and presidents having this and that, and your president doing this and that. I mean, at the time, everyone knew he had a mistress. Well, at least in the media, they didn't tell.
Well, yeah,
no one knew.
You didn't tell the world, yeah.
Yeah, no one knew he was in a wheelchair or he had polio, but the media all knew he had an affair or a mistress, and she was with him in Warm Springs. He went there to feel better because of his polio.
Okay, so. And
why was that important? You were going to say?
Well, I was going to say the importance of the news now is that AOC the other day mentioned that.
Oh yeah,
that was. We passed the amendment to restrict the length of time presidents serve. Yeah, term limit them. Sorry, couldn't find the word.
That's good.
And of course,
anyway,
that was passed several years after he died, not to stop him from getting another term. So once again, I don't know.
Yeah, she said the Republicans kept him from being elected again, and he got elected March 4th, 1933, and for the third time. The first time, and he got he was elected, of course, in what was it, 45, right? And then died like a very short period after that. Missed the end of the World War. That was granted to
Truman.
Herbert Hoover.
Well, Truman, yeah. Truman followed him. Yeah. Yeah.
He followed Hoover.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to wake up. I'll call you back.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Hoover was before FDR and made a mess of everything. FDR came along, made a bigger mess of it.
Like me. Yeah, I know. Anyway, he was in office from March 4th, 1933 till April 12th, 1945.
Yeah, 12 years, in office.
Long
time.
Long time.
Yeah. So that was the closest we've had to a dictator, I guess. Well, I don't know, a lot of people think Trump is, but he was the closest thing to, he could have kept on being elected, I guess, because for the next 40 years, the Democrats held the House and the Senate most of that time.
Yeah, it was a divided House. The Republicans controlled the House and the Senate. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first man to fly in space, orbiting the Earth once before making a safe landing, and we were all upset about that. We didn't like the Russian. Well, they put up the first satellite, and then they put up the first guy in space. They were way ahead of us. We had to go to the moon to top the Russians because they were out in front of us, way out in front in the space race. So.
Well, they certainly were. And the interesting thing about this flight of Yuri Gagarin's is that he went into space and actually did one orbit around the Earth before he landed.
Yeah.
Because it was Glenn that did the first orbit. Shepard went up into space but came right back. Mm-hmm. But Glenn was the first American astronaut that circled the Earth.
Yeah. All right. Well, and also the Russians landed their craft on ground. They came banging down. Boom.
Well, they didn't land it; they dropped it.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. We at least dropped them in the ocean. That made it feel a little better, but I don't know. 1981, the space shuttle Columbia blasted off Cape Canaveral, Florida, on its first test flight, and of course, we know years later it blew up in space with.
Right. That's right.
Several folks on board, and that was a tragedy that.
And it was known as STS-1, which, for everyone that may or may not know, that stands for Space Shuttle 1.
Ooh.
And it ran several missions. 28th mission was when, unfortunately, February, I believe it was, that it passed on into glory, and we all remember that. So.
Yeah. Well, in 1983, Harold Washington was elected Chicago's first African-American mayor, and now they have the first African-American woman in Chicago, and first openly gay woman, too. So,
yeah, to think that a lot of people may not know that, like New York, there was a black mayor of Chicago. Mm-hmm. The remarkable thing about it is, when it happened, that's what's so incredible, right?
Yeah, only 20 years or so after the Civil Rights Movement.
Exactly.
Pretty short timeline there. And also there was a time New York and Los Angeles both had black mayors.
That's right.
David Dinkins in one, and I'm trying to remember who the other one was. But
I don't know. My favorite one's from Washington, D.C. That's all I know.
Okay, yeah. Marion Barry?
Yes.
That's your favorite? Marion?
Yeah, Barry.
Marion Barry, yeah.
Marion Barry? Yeah, he reminds me of Strawberry, that played baseball and got, he got, suspended. I just can't believe it,
I know. Anyway. Great player, too. Yeah.
Well, he was a great player, yeah.
1999, U.S. District Judge Susan Weber Wright found President Bill Clinton in contempt of court for giving intentionally false testimony in a lawsuit filed by Paula Jones about his relationship with former White House intern Monica Lewinsky. Those were the days, weren't they? Huh?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll pronounce this word right, but I have to try. Describing Clinton's conduct repeatedly as contemptuous. Oh, I can't pronounce it. Contemptuous, yeah. She wrote. The record demonstrates by clear and convincing evidence that the president responded to plaintiff Paula Jones' questions by giving false, misleading, and evasive answers that were designed to obstruct the judicial process. So the day after he left office, Arkansas took his license. He cannot practice law. He's been disbarred. There you go.
There you are. 2002, Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez resigned under pressure from the country's divided military, but returned to office 2 days later. And I'm sure Danny Glover and Sean Penn were cheering about that, hey, Hugo's back in power. All right. The country's full speed ahead.
Again, folks, the most recent example of socialism, go check it out. See what happens when the government nationalizes in all industry.
Yep.
You don't end up as lucky as Sweden. They tried this in the 70s. Yeah. And politically and
saw the error of their ways.
Survived it. Well, they survived it.
Yeah.
They reversed it all, and the government, of course, sold all the nationalized industries they'd grabbed, and they sold it back to private business. But this is the best example to look at of what can happen in socialism.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of these countries over there are rethinking their health care.
All of them are.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. 2004, Barry Bonds hit his 660th home run to tie Willie Mays for third on baseball's list. Bonds is now the career leader in home runs with an asterisk and a pill bottle next to his name, because he was pretty much taking steroids since he was about 6 times bigger than he was when he started playing baseball.
713, wasn't it? That was the record for him?
Yeah, something like that. It was a lot. 2009 American cargo ship Richard Phillips was rescued from Somali pirates by U.S. Navy snipers who shot and killed 3 of the hostage takers. So that should wrap it up for us for this day in history. So we come back. We got a ton of local stuff to deal with here. The Senate's been going nuts in Helena, and we got all kinds of the university's going nuts, and I don't know, all kinds of things are happening. So we'll be back with more of stimulating conversation and interesting tidbits of whatever you need to know right after the news at the bottom of the hour. We'll be right back. For the top of the hour, it's Friday, April 12th, 2019. Tommy Gulluff, your morning mayor in the house. Shaman Tallman on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. And what's up, Shane?
Righteous Eagle Man, I want everyone to know we're streaming, baby. It just came online.
Oh, it did? Okay, we're back streaming, are we?
Are indeed.
All right. Well, somebody must have woke the engineer up. Yeah, I guess did something. So, well, good. Well, I'm glad we're streaming. So, hopefully, the people that let's see. I'll go back over to our text line here and make sure that the person that texted me knows that. We'll take care of that. So, yeah, it's today, Shane. I don't know. The looking at the news around the nation, or around Montana, I should say, we need to go there first. Medicaid expansion fails in the Senate.
What a surprise.
Yeah. A bill to continue Montana's Medicaid expansion program stalled Thursday on the Senate floor as Republicans sought to tie the fate of that measure, a top priority for Governor Steve Bullock, of course, and the Democrats, to that of other legislation. The Medicaid expansion bill failed on a 25-25 vote, and several Republican lawmakers said they were withholding their support until they see how other bills play out. So Medicaid expansion is a huge bill for the Democrats, much more so for us, Scott Sales said. We'll talk to Scott on Monday about this. There's a few of us that think maybe we should get something for Medicare expansion. So Republicans are seeking support for a bill to allow Northwestern Energy to purchase an additional share of a coal-fired power plant in Colstrip and additional capacity on a major power line. And Republican Senators Tom Richmond and Dwayne Anakey voted against the Medicaid expansion bill Thursday, even though they're listed as co-sponsors. They said they want support for their coal strip bill, which is scheduled for consideration on Friday. So coming in on Monday, Scott Sales and Steve White will have a lot to talk about. See how this coal strip thing plays out. See how the Medicaid thing plays out, if it does at all, and it'll be a big deal there. 96,000 Montanans who rely on Medicaid expansion don't have votes to trade. The only choice they have is whether they get the health care they need or whether they can put food on the table for their families. So there you are. Republican senators should be ashamed.
You've done a great job because you've consistently been pushing the discussion about this since the legislature came in and the boys showed up to talk about it. So good job on you.
Yeah. Well, let's hope they'll have some news for us when the day comes up. The other thing, for all you hikers and bikers out there, people on foot or on bike in northern Bozeman will soon have a path to the trails in the foothills along the Bridger Canyon. The city announced Thursday that construction has begun on the long-awaited path linking the town to the M, the most used trail in the Gallatin National Forest and Drinking Horse Mountain. So we'll have a nice trail there for you, Shane, that you can, when you're in town in July, you can march up to the M. And,
Well, I don't know, where are those flag-waving environmentalists getting upset that motorized equipment is going to be used in a forest to build a trail?
Well, I don't know. I guess they're I guess they're on their own. So
yeah,
they're in the Ninth Circuit over in San Francisco.
Oh no! Oh, I'm sorry. They're the ones that are going to use it.
Right. Probably right. Yeah. They're gonna. Yeah, their bikes. Bikes are going to be used. No motorized stuff, though.
No.
But they
will
will
to build it. They will.
Yeah.
They'll have.
Well, that's true. But the environmentalists will take their bikes, their cell phones, their laptops, their pads, iPads, their all that with them, so they could photograph all of the beauty of the M and the historic landmarks below.
Right. And we should remind them that everything they take is made from oil. So
something like that. Yeah. So all of that. So anyway, that's going to be kind of nice, though. A trail from the library all the way to the Bridgers, the M Trail, and to the mountains to the south with the Painted Hills Trail. There has always been that gap along Bridger Canyon Drive, and they're gonna take care of that now. So be on the lookout for construction to start over there, and they'll be talking about that as we go along. So yeah, pretty good deal. Well, the airport is going to begin expansion again. They're continuing to grow. We're the busiest airport in Montana right now, as far as I know. Work to expand the terminal at Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport begin on Thursday. It's a $27 million project. It will add 70,000 square feet to the west side of the concourse and will include 4 new gates, a third restaurant, more security, and retail stores, outbound baggage handling area, passenger boarding bridges, a larger terminal apron to serve more planes, and space for future development. So they're really rocking and rolling over there from what that place was 26 years ago when I moved here. That's
right. And Montana should be proud of that because you're in the middle of the big circle between Calgary, Seattle, Indianapolis, and Denver. So there you go.
That would be it. And Denver and Seattle, all those places. Minneapolis too.
Yeah.
Let's take a phone call, and we got to take a break. 522 Talk is the number. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, I was just wondering, how much is that trail going to cost?
I'm so glad you called. See, I didn't want to bring it up because I don't, I'd be the wrong guy to ask that question.
and just, I guess, which bond and or mill levy or whatever are they using to get that, to make that thing? And they passed that one bond for green space and trails. And
I know.
It was and the soccer complex, and we still don't have that soccer complex.
Yeah.
I'll take it at least $500,000. What do you say, Tom?
Oh, I would think it's at least that.
Yeah.
It's a long trail. If you're going from the library to the M and then going on past there and some other places, that's a lot. And they're going to have to maintain it too. That's the other thing.
They'll have to plow it during the winter.
Of course.
Anyway.
That's right.
Keep up with your dogs, all the.
Yeah.
I think instead of the Gallatin Front instead of ponying up for the 443 acres of forest land, they should have funded this trail if they got a check to write. Come on.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess.
All right.
Have a great weekend.
Hey, do you think Jeff would have that information for us?
Jeff Krause?
Oh,
he may have. Yeah. Well, he'll be back in on Tuesday. We'll see. I'm sure he's aware of it. Now, I don't know. Is the M in the city or is it in the county? I know the library obviously is in the city, so I don't know if part of this is city, part of it's county. I don't know. I'm not sure where the city limits goes up to the M. So.
No idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. So we'll try and remember to ask Jeff, or if you're listening, call in and remind us, and we'll get her done.
Very good.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. All right. Thanks for listening. All right. Well, yeah, that's all these trails and things. We got the park of, $200, $16 pizza a month for parks. So, hey, what's the big deal? We'll just put this stuff in, spend money, hand over fist. Who cares,
That's right. You can live in the greatest country club in the world and crosswalks everywhere and lights as well. So you might as well put a trail through a forest. Why not?
There you go. Hey. Well, every Friday, I meet with a bunch of local guys here, and we talk about what's going on around the world and the city and all of that. And one of the guys that I meet with every Friday has just been promoted to the housing manager, and that would be Lauren Olson, a mortgage broker with Flagstar Bank, will be the city's next affordable housing manager. So he's been a 20-year home lending career here. He's been here. He's been in Alaska. He's been in California. Guy's been all over the place. So he would be a good choice. He's a pretty reasonable guy and born and raised in Bozeman. Served on the town boards, including the Chamber of Commerce, Southwest Montana Building Association, and Gallatin Valley Interfaith Association, and the Gallatin Association of Realtors. So he is a good choice, I think, for that. So we'll see how he does. So
is he a youngin?
He's I would guess late 40s, early 50s.
Oh, I hear the bells of a future politician here.
Well, I don't know if he's going to do that, but we'll see. Anyway, all right, we got to take a quick break here, but the good news is that Noxatril is oranged out, which means it will not play. But hey, we've got two local companies here, really good companies, Buffalo Restoration. Mountain Hot Tub is moving. So, hey, when you go into these places, tell them Tom and Shane sent you.
Yeah, please, because we want you to go there.
Here's some important words from those two great businesses here in Bozeman. 13 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Friday, April 12th, 2019, 34 degrees outside. Shaman Taubman on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor in the house. And this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. From our text line, Shane, 478-8298. I quit hiking the M Trail years ago because all you smell is dog poop the whole way up. So, folks, you gotta clean up after your dogs. Come on.
Yeah,
it's not.
Baby, yeah.
It's okay for the bears, and the mountain lions and all those folks, but the dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the dog stuff. I don't know. That's let's give folks a break. If you're gonna take your mutts up there, or mutts anywhere for that matter, out in public, clean up after yourself. Humans don't seem to want to do it in San Francisco, but that's okay.
Well, when you visit your neighbor's house, you usually use their bathroom. I mean, you don't go outside.
Well, of course, yeah. So, yeah. Well, I don't know. There used to be outhouses and stuff, and
yeah.
Farmers all went out there. So, I don't know why not. Why not? Come on. Well, let's see. The other things we need to talk about. MSU, they've got a new. Not a new. They reelected Taylor Blossom as the president for the coming year and elected 17 senators from the various schools they've got there: agriculture, arts and architecture, business, education, health and human development, and engineering, and all that. So, congratulations to Mr. Blossom there for winning. Taylor Blossom, the new reelected president of MSU, the MSU students, I guess I should say. So the
student
forum. Get it right in a minute. Yeah. Well, and the other great news, and I've been a speech coach, or well, not a coach, a speech judge, I guess, debate judge. I've been a debate judge at high school. Haven't done it in a while, but did it for a few years. And the Hawks are setting record numbers. They're sending record numbers to national speech and debate contests, and I was so impressed with the kids that, how well they prepared and, both sides of their argument and whatever. I mean, I was kind of going there expecting, well, it's like, it's like this. It's like, it's, yeah. But boy, they surprised me, man. They were articulate, they were educated, and they knew their stuff. And it was tough to judge between the two, because you had to throw whatever they were talking about. You had to throw your opinion of it out the window, and who did the best job of presenting their material.
And the interesting thing about this is that every year, annually, the association picks a question to answer. So everyone across the country, in every debate, in every college, is basically debating the same question.
Right.
They don't change from, so all the material is the same.
Yeah, they prepare to go to nationals and all those things. Yeah, so they're prepared to move on.
The second thing that's interesting is you have to have a second speech specialty. Yeah. Mine was extemporaneous speech. So they would give you a question, and you had an hour to write your speech, and then you'd have to give it extemporaneous with no notes.
Oh, okay.
And that includes today. You can't have one of those.
Yeah, can't have a teleprompter or whatever.
No teleprompter. Yeah, you got to be a Trump. Got to be a Trump.
And how did you do at that? I may add.
Very well. I had a scholarship for 2 years at Eastern Montana College. So what? Well,
all right. Well, good for you, man. There you go. He's not just a pretty face, folks.
No, I got the national championship.
Wow.
Didn't win, but I got there.
Well, all right. Hey, getting there is half the fun. Hey,
it is indeed. Washington D.C., baby.
That's right. What do they say? The secret to success? Show up.
That's right.
Show up, man. That's all you got to do. Show up.
Get there. Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back with more right after this. 5 minutes before the hour of 7 a.m. It is Friday, April 12th, 2019, 34 degrees outside. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Shane is in Vancouver, British Columbia, half man, half amazing. Tommy Galoff, your morning mayor, in the house. And, Shane, we were talking about the debate teams, and I'm thinking that our youth get a bad rap. We hear all the negatives, but when we go to these debates and things like that, or where we see these students excel, there's just not enough good news about them.
That's right. For the most part, academia is a remarkable place because look at the people it's created. Mm-hmm. Look at the countries we both live in. I mean, best, country clubs to live in the world. So there is an upside to it. But, the media doesn't sell well for advertising about good news.
Yeah.
They generate advertising from bad news, which draws people to, it's like people going to Daytona 500. Yeah. Do you think they go there to watch the cars go around the loop? Then no, they go there to drink and watch for the crashes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Let's see a crash or two. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see somebody blow up.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
It's remarkable when you think of the highest margin and percentage of graduating students in secondary education in the world. So it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Well, we've been pretty fortunate here. we've kind of badmouthed education a little bit because the rule is, I guess, you teach a standardized test. That's all you do. You want the students to pass this standardized test, and that way you think you've prepared them for life, but yet they just learned things. They didn't learn why things happened or why there was a World War II, why there was a Korean War, why there was a Vietnam War, why the stock market failed, why we bailed GM out. They don't learn those things,
No, they don't. Yeah. Well, and the other, not meaning to sound like being a downside, but the other thing about academia is that they're lectures that you listen to, and although they're static, meaning they update them, but basically the professors give the same lecture every year to every new class, right? But the reason for that is to be pragmatic, and as you say, that you have to have some depth of understanding, and which is one of the highest percentages of a grade in university is attendance.
Oh yeah. If I show up, I should at least get a B.
That's correct.
I mean, come on. What?
No,
I know. That's seriously, that's what they believe. As long as I attend class, I should at least get a B.
Well, yeah, because, they're narcissistic. The professor, wants all these people to listen to him every day for an hour.
Well, I don't know if the professor cares or not, but.
Well, I think he does. But.
Well, it depends, I guess. I don't know.
I guess. Well, if you made $250,000 a year.
Well, I guess I would care, wouldn't I?
Well, I think their qualification of their salary and everything is predicated, on attendance. Like there's this issue with, your newest member of the Supreme Court doing a summer job teaching. And, it's becoming a big discussion whether he should be there or not. Well, it's a voluntary course. It's not a required course at that school.
Yeah.
And that's, there you go.
Well, I agree with that. I think there should be some electives, and I think there should be some other things. They have college credit courses or whatever in high schools, and I certainly encourage people to take those. But I don't know. It seemed, looking back to my high school, it certainly seemed like we covered a lot more material. We knew who the presidents were, and we didn't necessarily know the years they were elected or who their VPs were or stuff like that. But we kind of knew as we went through history. We had a Revolutionary War, and we had the Industrial Revolution, and we had all this and that, and we learned about all those things.
Yeah, right.
But
and you can actually identify your country on a global map.
I can find the U.S. on a map. Yep. 9 times out of 10. All right.
There you go.
Guess what? When we come back, it's time for 5 things you need to know. And the other thing we got to talk about is reparation for Georgetown University. Oh, my God. You're going to die when you hear this one. We'll be right back. 3 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m., it is 33 degrees outside. It's Friday, finally Friday, April 12th, not April 13th. It's Friday, April 12th, 2019. And welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Shane and Tobin on the line in Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor, in the house. And Georgetown University, they've decided that reparations are the key. They're going to have to pay up. So they're going to charge their students $27 per semester, $54 a year to pay back the, I don't know. I looked at this information, Shane, and it would appear the students, or not the students, the university had slaves and sold them and bought and sold slaves. This university, Georgetown University,
exactly.
sold slaves, bought slaves, sold slaves, and now the students have to pay the heirs of those folks, and they're going to collect a slush fund to pay them off.
Well, let's get some context here.
Okay, let's go.
Was founded in 1789, It's the oldest Catholic and Jesuit affiliated institution of higher education in the U.S., and it's a private school, so it's not a federal institution.
Doesn't get federal bucks.
But this gets but this gets better. So their motto is Utuaque Unum, or both in one. January 23rd, 1789, it was established by Jesuit priest John Carroll. Franklin asked the Pope at the time to appoint him to this position to set the school up. But they have an endowment fund of $1.7 billion.
Wow.
And the chairman of the college is William Doyle. But this is the part I love. The academic staff at Georgetown, 2,173, 1,291 full-time, with 882 part-time professors. The administrative staff is 1,500. So you add those together, that's 3,700 people run this. There's 17,849 students, 7,636 undergraduates, as we all know,
right.
First term in college, and then postgraduates, like in most colleges, 10,212. But the remarkable thing is, the budget for the school in relation to the number of students is just, it's staggering when you look at the contrast of what the cost is, for them to have all these kids in school. So, yeah, it's one of these issues that you look at and you wonder, wow, how does this work out, and how does this establish a value or redemption? Like, how many years and how much would they pay any individual person?
Wow. Do you have a budget number?
I'm just trying to look it up.
Okay. I mean, it's okay if you don't. I mean, we know we know it's high, but yeah. You go on about what you were saying with regards to it, and I'll look up your. Well, apparently the students voted for this.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if they, but the argument. Let's look at both sides of the argument. For one is, the obvious argument is, why do I have to pay for something somebody did back in the 1700s? I'm not related to them. I don't know anything about them. The people that were put upon are long gone, and why do we owe? Why should I pay money to people who are living now in a much better condition and whatever than they did before?
That's right.
And the other side of the argument is, you're living in these great conditions because of what these people did back then. They started the university. They, got the grounds. I don't know what the slaves did. I guess they cut grass and, painted and, did whatever we need to do around the university, keep the place clean or whatever.
Did the cooking.
Yeah. Just, whatever. So
exactly.
that we wouldn't have a Georgetown today if it wasn't for the people back then. So,
that's correct.
Yeah. So shouldn't we pay those people? Because these people are, benefiting now. Shouldn't they receive an additional couple bucks because of how well their foremothers did? I don't know.
But the difficult thing is, it's that slippery slope, because once this is established as a precedent, how many other colleges start forming the same idea, and then they take it to the political, the establishment, and so it's one of these situations. Well, let me give you an analogy. I think Roe versus Wade will be thrown back to the states, and I think that's why all these states are passing these laws.
Yeah. And
so this is another example. You get it started in academia to do this, then the politicians say, well, they're doing it, and the kids in the university are doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So we now have an obligation to do it.
So now we're working on it. From our text line 478-8298. Wasn't slavery legal at the time? And that would certainly be an argument that whether or not you think it was right, it was the law of the day. And so,
Exactly. Well, it's all a matter of what is happening at the time. And I don't take issue with what the gentleman from Starbucks said. Let's look forward. Why do we have these discussions of looking back? What's happened, and we're all trying to make it better.
True. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, from our earlier discussion, people don't care about clean laundry. All they want to see is people's dirty laundry. We were talking about the kids getting a bad rap for being, good kids, and we only hear about the bad kids. So they were saying, we don't care about the clean laundry. We only want to see the dirty laundry. And another question that's interesting that ties into this, Shane, what about tenure? That's something that I don't know. I have mixed feelings about tenure. I think if you're a good teacher, then it makes sense, to have a home and, a place where you're secure in your position and your finances. But if you're a bad teacher, it's almost impossible to get rid of you.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, and that's again why they keep, the professors are so adamant about participation in their classes, attendance. But the problem about tenure is that it grants a professor the right to take leave, and he still gets paid by the university. He goes off to study somewhere to write a book, research, whatever.
Yeah, research paper.
But of course, if he writes a book under tenure, then the university gets a large portion of the profit.
Right.
And so they want the professors to write books because it generates revenue.
Well, the saying is publish or perish.
That's right.
Yeah, right. So, you have to publish. Yeah, you got to publish papers to make that $250,000.
That's right.
And generally what you do is you'll bring a bunch of advanced students in. They'll do the research.
Exactly.
They'll give you all the notes, and you have some ghostwriter write the book, and there you are. You're sitting there pretty. Yeah.
And the second problem you have is that when a tenured professor isn't available for class, they have what are called TAs, teacher assistants. So you're paying $75,000 a year for your kid to go to school, who's supposed to be in front of this professor. That's why they're there. But in fact, they're in front of his assistant and not hearing from him personally. So there you go. That's the other downside of it.
There you are. From our text line, 478-8298. How do I get on the reparations? All my people came from Africa. If you go back 2 or 3 million years,
that's right.
you're home free, man. And also from our text line, absolutely ridiculous. I assume that's probably a definition of our entire show. No, but
that's it. Not ridiculous.
Yeah.
No word ridiculous.
All right. Well, I don't know. And how long does this reparation go on? Is this do these people permanently get a check, and then their kids get a check, and those kids get a check, or where does it end, Shane? Where does it end?
Well, exactly. And when do they start paying it out?
Well, yeah. Well, if you got what'd you say they had 17,000 students, something like that, and another 10,000 or 12,000 graduate students. So you got what 30? Well, if you got 30,000 students paying $70 a year.
And a first year student at Georgetown, 71,580. 51,720 for tuition, 15,434 for room and board, and $1,200 for books and supplies, and $500 and $580 for other fees. Like to go swimming.
Okay. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. 522-8255. Calling on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hi, Tom and Shane. How are you doing today?
Good.
Fine.
Good.
Thanks.
Well, good. So the reparations, if they taught history in the schools, everybody would know that during Reconstruction of the South, the reparations were paid then. And it was funny, I don't know if it was funny, but a lot of those Southern plantation owners, they were black, were given law officer appointments. They were the sheriffs and things over these people. And there was a lot of Reconstruction was pretty bad in the South for white people. And so the people that fought in the Civil War in the South were treated like pretty much second-class citizens. And those are the ones that paid the reparations to the black people, in my opinion. So,
oh, you're right. A lot of African slaves in the South after the Civil War and Reconstruction were granted land grants by the federal government.
Right. Well,
40 acres and a mule.
Well, I think it was more than 40 acres, but yeah, exactly. That's what happened.
You know, you look at a lot of the bank robbery gangs that were running around. They were Southern folks leaving the South because, I mean, the North made it so difficult for the people in the South that they went out to Helena and tried, you know, mining gold. You know, a lot of them went out there. So they had to leave. I mean, that's how they paid. The reparations have already been paid. You know, I mean, I think the union made sure of that. So that's my point. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay.
You bet.
Thanks for the call. All right, we got to take a short break, and we'll be right back right after these important words. Stay tuned. 19 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. It's Friday, April 12th, 2019, 34 degrees outside. Shane Matavin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. And Tom Eagle, your morning mayor in the house. And from our text line, Shane, 478-8298, the administration and professors should pay, not the students. I'm going to say, I don't think the students bought and sold slaves, did they?
No, they didn't. I hope not.
I think you need to charge the heirs of the folks that were there. They could pay it. Well, that sounds fair to me.
With a $1.7 billion endowment fund, you know, why don't they use some of that?
I was going to say, yeah, why charge the students? I would say, hey, you got $1 billion sitting there. What's the problem? What are you going to do with that? It's just sitting there earning interest. Why don't you at least give the interest in reparation?
Exactly.
I mean, come on. Hey, if you can make 5 or 6%, hey, that's $500,000-$600,000 a year. Go for it.
That's right.
So I don't know. Well, no, $1 billion would be more than that. It'd be about $6 million a year. Yeah. So
yeah.
There you go. So yeah, what's the problem?
I don't know, buddy. Yeah. I'm just sitting here watching it and getting the opportunity to talk about it.
I know. Well, I don't know. I'm looking at this, and I'm sure this is going to catch on to other universities. I'm sure you won't be able to go to a school, particularly a private school. Certainly. I don't know if Harvard will do this or not. You know, they probably will, you know, Harvard and Yale, and we'll have to ask.
They're all private schools. Yeah, they're all private schools.
Yeah, so we'll have to ask, Mike McCormick, I think, is Yale. Can't remember if he's Yale or Harvard, one of the two.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him, yeah.
We'll have to ask him how he feels about paying, well, his kids are going to college soon. You know, they're in high school now, so he'll be shuffling them off to some hoity-toity school, you know. Thankfully, he knows enough not to pay to get him in.
Gosh, yeah, what a story that is. Unbelievable. Whoa.
And that just keeps getting worse and worse. Maybe we'll talk about that when we get through with the 5 things we need to talk about. But let's start in on that. And of course, the interesting story was that President Trump wanted to send all the migrants that were released into the country. He wanted to transport them to sanctuary cities and let the sanctuary city folks deal with them.
Well, and it's not all that. You know, the precedent was Obama. That's what Obama did.
Yeah.
You know, he sent a lot of Sudanese and Ethiopian Muslims, you know, to Wisconsin and Minnesota, and he made specific targeted areas in your country where they sent these people, knowing that, you know, what the effect would be in those areas, and rightfully so. You know, he sent them to Republican areas so they could hopefully, you know, plan being that they'd get to vote sometime and they'd vote Democrat.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that's where you got Omar and some of these other folks, these radical folks. So I don't know.
Yeah, you go.
Well, anyway, wanting to retaliate against Democrats, critical of President Trump, the White House tried twice to push U.S. immigration authorities into releasing migrant detainees in sanctuary cities. The sanctuary cities are places where local authorities have said they won't turn over most undocumented immigrants for deportation. And the Department of Homeland Security officials and obtained emails discussing the plan, which included targeting the district of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Let's send them there.
Why not, baby?
Send them to Nancy's.
With a 10. With a 10.
And the White House first proposed the idea in November and again in February when Trump was fighting with Democrats over funding for more beds in migrant detention centers. And the White House said this was just a suggestion that was floated and rejected, which ended my further discussion in it. So, but I still think it was a good idea at the time. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is that if you go to Homeland Security and review the numbers in the last 10 years, you'll find that the principal precedent is if a migrant, which I think they should be called refugees, not so. From now on, folks, when I say refugees, that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
these refugees are sent basically somewhere that they're either supported by a non-profit organization, a church, or so forth, or family.
Or a sponsor of some kind, yeah.
A sponsor, but
like we did when they came through Ellis Island. People had to have somebody who was going to take care of them and account for them and assimilate them into society. They didn't just didn't kick them out on Broad Wall.
Yeah, exactly.
You're on your own.
On that basis, the majority of them actually have gone to democratic areas of the country because that's where their sponsors are mostly, and there you go.
Yeah. From our text line, 478-8298, why do you think there's a pooping problem in the sanctuary city of San Francisco? Well, because you got people all over the place that are homeless and they've got nowhere to go. So hey, the street's handy.
Yeah.
There used to be signs in cities, curb your dog. Do you remember that, Shane? Used to say curb your dog. You'd take your dog into the gutter to not on the street, So, maybe it's curb your homeless. We should do that.
Well, I'd like to think that most of them are doing it in the bush where they can reach for toilet paper,
Well, I don't know about that, but
from the bush, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I got it.
I know you did.
But yeah, they just are overrun with homeless people because San Francisco, particularly, is a very expensive place to live. You're not gonna get a job at McDonald's and get an apartment or anything like that. So it's pretty tough for a lot of these people, and many of these people are migrants. They came illegally. They're here, and the other people that are with them are migrants, and they're illegal, so they're all here.
That's right.
And that's the issue. So that's kind of where we are. So, all right. So.
All right. Well, Rosenstein says, and he's the assistant attorney general, who I'm sure is in a lot of trouble because he signed all of those FISA warrants. But anyway, he thinks it's bizarre to think Barr is misleading the public. You think? Of course it's bizarre.
Well, my liberal friends are all saying, why are the Republicans so dead set against this thing being made public? Well, as far as I know, they're not dead set against it. They said, hell, go, more power to you. Go for it.
Well, we talked about the Ides of March, the 15th of March, being significant because that was the day that Caesar was stabbed and murdered in the Senate of Rome a couple of thousand years ago. But February 13th will be the Ides of February in the U.S. because that was the day that William Barr was sworn in as a second time as the Attorney General. He went into his office on Friday the 15th. You might remember on the 17th on 60 Minutes, McNabb did that interview.
Right.
And it's important for the protocol for everyone to know is it's the president, the attorney general, everyone in the in the office. So the minute he walked in, because he wouldn't recuse himself, he got to look at everything Mueller had. And we talked about this, and I thought back then, I said to you, he looked at this over the weekend. He saw that McNabb interview with 60 Minutes, and he said, "This is it. You're done. Give me the written report in a month." And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So he's worked with Molnar since he went in there on the 15th of February. Yeah. And that's why that comment he made the second day of the hearing was so important. When he said, well, we knew it was coming. So it's not like this is the first time he probably looked at it, read through it, or even has seen it. He's been involved in this since he took office. He knows exactly what's in the report. He's not misleading anybody.
Yeah. The one thing that would make everything much easier, usually when there's a special prosecutor, they make a recommendation of something, indict this person, or, this group needs investigation or something. And that wasn't done this time, and Mueller should have done that.
Well, but the key to Mueller's referral to the Attorney General's office that Barr has let out was he was not going to indict anyone else. So there you go.
Okay. All right. We'll be back with more because we've still got to cover the other things of the 5 things you got to know.
Of course.
That's why we're here. All right. Well, it's a beautiful day outside, isn't it? Hey, welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox. A little snow on the ground this morning, but that'll be gone. We're looking for a high of about 40 degrees today, so stay tuned. A lot more to come right after this. It is 25 minutes till the top of the hour. We just got word there's some accidents on Huffine Lane. They're using the center lane near Love Lane to get people through the accident area. So if you're coming Huffine, you might want to consider an alternate route to get to Bozeman. And we've got quite a mess out there at the moment. I'm not sure what happened. I don't think we didn't, unless we had snow or something. So anyway, if you're in that pile up out there, give us a call. Hopefully you're safe.
Yes, indeed.
All right, let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Hey, morning, Big Kahuna.
Hey.
Morning, Big Dog. Just going to ask you, Tom, when you play that BOC, were they kind of like a one-hit wonder?
That Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah.
Don't fear the Reaper. They may have been a one-hit wonder. I can't remember too many other songs they
me neither.
They had out there. So I don't know. Where.
I was gonna. You're well connected locally and statewide, Tommy, on this Montana Historical Museum.
Mm-hmm.
They keep holding that down. We've been trying to get that for a decade now, and looking at it from the outside, I don't see much of a downside. I mean, they want to raise the bet tax by a paltry 1%.
Yeah.
And when you look at the projected revenue that might generate, plus it would be a state-of-the-art facility, one of the best in the nation, from what they're proposing, and it is, I think, on paper, it's a $48 million proposal for the museum itself.
Mm-hmm.
But why they keep voting that down? Because it seems they have more. When I look at the pros and cons, there seem to be more on the left side of that ledger. So what? Do you know why that's the case?
Boy, I don't. I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't. So.
Yeah, because I would like to just hear more. If you get these, maybe I'll call back. When the legislators is,
Well, Scott will be in on Monday at 8. So
okay.
If you want, if you're around there, he would know, I would think. But I don't know when it comes to all these taxes and things. Because they just turned down the Medicare because they want a coal strip addition in there. So this could be something else too that they're trying to make a side deal, on this other one. So that's what it sounds like anyway, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Right. I thought they might be trying to piggyback something, but yeah, and on this Trump thing, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Some of these sanctuary cities, and I'm sure John Tester, could take a few of the refugees.
I would think so. Yeah,
he's an advocate of, being so merciful and compassionate. Well, put your money where your mouth is.
Well,
a great point. We should have brought that up when we talked about it under the 5 things you need to know. Why wouldn't the Democrats embrace this? I mean, they're the ones who want these sanctuary cities. Why wouldn't they want to take these refugees into the sanctuary cities?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know the answer to that, Shane. That's rhetorical. My friend, very well. Because they don't really want. They present one side to the public, but darn well it's all about votes. It's all about money. It's all about demographics. And that's really the last thing they want. But, transparency, my butt. Hey, I want to ask you guys just one last question.
Sure.
Avenatti, he's corrupt, Cohen's corrupt. All these guys that are these big Trump accusers have turned out to all be liars, including, unfortunately, some high-ranking officials in the FBI. And, since he was so harsh on Trump, this Joe Biden fella, I was just wondering, do you guys think that maybe Trump should take Joe Biden out behind the gym and teach him some manners? That's all I want to leave you guys with.
All right.
So let me know what you think there, Tom.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah, yeah. I think I think Trump should take Joe out behind the gym.
No! I think they should have an exclusive match on WWF.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The money he could raise, an $8 billion show.
WrestleMania,
him and Biden wrestling in the ring. That would be
I know.
Good.
Seeing the two of them in boxing shorts is that's an image I can't get out of my head. I don't know. That would be bad.
Trump will be wearing gold shorts with a big T on the back.
That's right. And I don't know about Biden. He'll sniff the referee's hair, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. He won't be wearing white shorts because you don't want to see anything.
That's right. From our text line, 478-8298, will Obama pay half price for reparations?
I don't know.
I don't know about that one, yeah.
But I'm willing to wager that Obama may be the first president that doesn't have a library.
Yeah. Let's see. Somebody sent me Blue Oyster Cult's other hit, but
good.
Well, they didn't put the name in; they just have the link to YouTube. So I'll have to check that out during the break, and I'll get back to you. If also from our text line, if there's nothing in the report, sit on it for as long as possible. Let the frenzy build. Then the meltdown will be more fun to watch.
Crazy game.
I would tend to agree with that. Yeah, it would be more fun to watch, certainly. And so anyway, we got to take a break. We come back. We got a new Interior Secretary. As most of us know, Zinke left. So we've got a new guy. An oil lobbyist. Oh, my God. How can that be good for anything? And also, we got an abortion bill and Disney and Netflix going at it. So we'll be talking about all that when we come back right after this. 16 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Friday, April 12th, 2019. 34 degrees outside. Tommy Galoff, your morning mayor in the house. And Shane Matavin on the line with me. Half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia. And from our text line, Shane, we got all kinds of things going on here. Weren't the Irish slaves from the Muslim pirates off the Barbary Coast first? What about reparations for us Irish? Yeah, that's certainly
there you go, baby.
one to think about. Also from our text line, Trump 2016. I love WikiLeaks. Trump today. Wiki what? When you're Trump, you lie. It's what you do. So there you are.
I don't believe so. I believe your president was referencing the fact of what had happened yesterday, and he wasn't aware of it because it's not that important to him.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't think it was a reference. He didn't know what WikiLeaks is. Of course he does.
Well,
but he probably didn't know about exactly the details of what happened with the arrest of the head of WikiLeaks, who's an Australian, by the way.
Yeah. So. Come on, Shane. Trump's a nut job. Everybody knows it.
They misinterpret. Come on, Tom. You know they misinterpret.
The guy's incompetent. He doesn't know. He doesn't even know where his grandfather was born. Come on.
Yeah, well, look at the numbers. That's how incompetent he is. Yeah, right.
Okay. Well, whatever. Well, let's see. Back to the 5 things you need to know. As I said, the Senate confirmed. They confirmed him. Yeah, barely. David Bernhardt as Interior Secretary on Thursday, 56-41 was the vote. And former oil and gas lobbyist had been acting secretary since January 2nd, and before that he was deputy to his predecessor Ryan Zinke, who we all know. And the Interior Department manages nearly 500 million acres of public land, most of it west of the Mississippi. And
that's right, 60%.
Almost all of it in, well, Montana is almost total. I think there's about 4 acres that are privately owned in Montana.
Right. Well, all the Rocky Mountain states are, all, that's all.
They are.
That area is all good.
Yeah. So anyway, let's see. Zinke held a 40-year record for the highest number of no votes, 31, for an Interior Secretary. So there he is. He's a record holder. So good for him. So that sounds good. So, oh, geez.
Well, the only comment I have about this is, once your media and the investigative writer or, reporters or your media, why didn't they talk about this guy before he got voted, right? Like, Nick, they'll condemn him, they'll tear him down, they'll attack him now that he's in. But why didn't they have discussions about who he was, what he did, where he came from before the vote? And this is the failure of your media. They're not doing their job. You talk about the Congress. Ooh.
Well, I'm sure they talked about him on MSNBC and CNN as being a loser, but
nope, not before he was voted in.
All right. Well,
I watched.
I guess they feel, why do they call the Secretary of the Interior a guy who's in charge of everything outside?
I love it.
I don't know, man. I was wondering about that. So anyway,
the righteous eagleman does a turn again. I love it.
There you go. All right. Well, we got another heartbeat bill passed. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, Republican, signed into law on Thursday a new abortion bill, which passed the state legislature Wednesday. The legislation prohibits abortions after the first detectable fetal heartbeat, which is usually about the 5th or 6th week of pregnancy. It includes an exception to save the life of the mother, but does not have exception for pregnancies conceived via rape or incest. Similar heartbeat bills have already been passed in 5 other states, though 2 are held up by court challenges. Former Ohio Governor John Kasich vetoed the Ohio legislation twice in anticipation of similar court battles, and the ACLU of Ohio has already promised to fight the new law in court. Isn't that amazing that we want to fight keeping people alive? I don't know.
I know. Well, I don't want to be repetitive, but I believe that Roe versus Wade by the Supreme Court will be thrown back to the states to make their own determinations at some point in the next several years. And that's why these states are all, doing all these legislative bills like New York that we talked about and everywhere else. So the 16 Democratic states will say yes to everything right up to the heartbeat comes the baby's death. And, the other 34 states in your country will say no. So there you go.
Yeah, it'll, I don't know. It's going to take quite a case to overturn Roe v. Wade, though. It's going to have to be a similar case with new ramifications. It's like we talked about the baker who wouldn't bake the cake and was upheld in the Supreme Court. But that didn't go generally to every baker in the country. It only protected that particular baker. So in order for it to go nationwide, that's going to have to be some case.
Well, not necessarily. This is the great thing about your Supreme Court. They don't have to overturn Roe versus Wade. They can reflect Roe versus Wade and send it back to the states for them to individually decide what they want. And that's not overturning Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
That's just reversing the decision from the Supreme Court back to the states. So these continuing cases won't come to the Supreme Court. They're a busy court, right?
Well, they are. But I mean, it's going to have to be, if they're going to send it back to the states under Roe v. Wade, it's going to have to be a similar type case.
That's correct. To get there.
To get there,
The predication is that most states will have some kind of abortion allowance, meaning, incest, rape, the health of the mother, or something wrong with the child, or a cutoff date. You can only.
Well, we'll see how these how the courts do regarding the what I want to say here regarding. Well, Roe v. Wade is the law of the land.
That's correct.
but the states are putting conditions on Roe v. Wade. And whether or not those conditions go through the courts or not is another story. You know, whether these heartbeat laws will be upheld or not is a whole nother story, and we'll have to ask our esteemed law babe, Jennifer Bordy, when she gets in, because I can attest she was not aborted, so she would know about this. So
well, I think in the final approval or writings by the Supreme Court on the decision of Roe versus Wade, they didn't establish cause to have an abortion.
Yeah.
They just said abortion was legal and allowable.
Right.
So
okay.
That's why I think it's going on. There you go.
All right. Hey, well, let's take a quick break. The aforementioned law babe is in the house. Jennifer Bordy is here with us, so we will be talking to her at the top of the hour, and I'm sure she has exciting topics online, so we'll be right back right after this. 5 minutes for the top of the hour. It's Friday, April 12th, 2019, 34 degrees outside. Jennifer Bordy will be joining us at 8 o'clock hour, and we're in the midst of the 5 things you need to know today. So let's continue on with those. Disney aims to undercut Netflix with a $7 a month streaming plan. Walt Disney unveiled new details about its Disney streaming service. They'll have things like Star Wars and Pixar movies and all of that stuff. So they should be a formidable opponent, Shane.
Yeah, well, I'm happy that we brought this conversation up last year and warned everyone. My timing was a bit off because it's obviously a corporate secret. I thought it might take until next year. Yeah. But the remarkable thing about this, folks, is we got to talk sometime next week about 5G and why that's important. But streaming is now alive. So this is critical for the next presidential election, Tom, because by 2020, most of these networks may be gone. And, when we first brought this up, we talked about people that have or may have invested in ETFs with communication companies. So, again, check your portfolio, folks, because this is a big risk. You don't know where cable companies are going to be in a year or two from now.
That's true. ETFs are exchange-traded funds, by the way.
Thank you, sir. Yes,
so our folks know. You're able to trade a basket of stocks like a single stock is what it comes down to. So
reduce your risk. Reduce your risk.
Yeah, you get to spread it out a little bit. So, let's see from our text line 478-8298. Let's see. Black should bring suit against Planned Parenthood since their race was targeted by Margaret Sanger and the 16 million babies aborted since 1973 and continues with 1,876 black babies killed daily. So there you go. Are you there?
Yeah, I am. Well,
see, when I stop talking, you are supposed to start. That's what a team is, When I pass the ball, you take the ball. And
I apologize. Well, it's just a hard conversation to have because there's just so solid positions on both sides, and now it's the middle. I would say there's, say 30%, 40% strongly against it, and 30% maybe probably now strongly in favor of it. So as always in your country, the undecided middle voter will make up the difference. So we'll see where they go with it.
Yeah. Well, if you want to go down the line of reparations, of course, you got to put the American Indians pretty close to the front of the line.
Yeah, that's right.
They're in there. Didn't FDR turn the Jewish away in New York way back when? Yeah, he turned them away. And, Cubans get to stay here, but Haitians got to go. So I don't know where, you could make it, the other day someone was making a case for the Chinese railroad workers back in the day. Do they deserve something? Japanese were interned. Yeah, what about that? They lost all their stuff and everything. So, this is going to be kind of a long list of reparations. It's not just slavery, but everybody wants to kind of pick on slavery, I think, because it's an easy dog to lead, but we've got all these other dogs on leashes too, right behind you.
And the scary thing is that I see them using as an argument, Germany and Japan got war reparations from the U.S. because we rebuilt their countries.
Well,
So, I mean,
sure.
There may be argument that the Democrats might smartly come up with to argue it, but we'll wait and see.
Well, the big argument that I heard the other night on CNN or MSNBC, one of those, was that we wouldn't have what we have today if it weren't for the people of that time. They helped build the country and whatever, and that's where we came from. And why not pay them off? And
yes.
But who do you pay and for how long?
Yeah, exactly.
How much? That's what nobody seems to want to know. We seem pretty sure that health care is going to cost $23 billion, but boy, you throw a number out for reparations, nobody wants to jump on that bandwagon.
No, of course not. Yeah, wow. How do you go there?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. We got to get out of here. Jennifer Bordy's up next, and we'll be talking about Jennifer Assange. We're going to be talking about the other Assange. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back. 3 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock, it's Friday, April 12th, 2019, 35 degrees outside. The KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Shane and Tobin, half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagle, your morning mayor, and the lovely and talented law babe, Jennifer Bordy, in the house. How you doing?
Well,
I shouldn't ask you that.
One of these days, I got to learn to just say fine.
I know how you're doing.
Rough.
I know how you're doing. It's been a rough time for you, and
It has.
we are really. I don't want to go into all kinds of details.
Well,
but
I lost my mom in February, as everybody knows, and they probably don't know. I lost my sister 1 week ago today.
Yeah,
just last Friday.
So yeah, when it rains, it pours. Unfortunately, and that's
yes,
bad.
It's
yeah. Well, we're glad you're here.
Tough year.
I'm glad you're here. We're glad you're able to be here. I have been promoting you because I didn't know if you were going to be here or not, and if you didn't, it was fine with me. If you wanted to take extra time, and But,
well, I'll have a couple Fridays coming up. I got a lot of travel in my immediate future, so luckily most of it's blessings. But anyway.
I wonder if we have a call about the law or not. Let's see if we do. Caller, you on the air? What's going on?
Yeah, I got a current question. I want to get out of the way about these ads about these class action suits. One's about you're able to get a settlement because of inferior earplugs, and then this one was on a few minutes ago about using herbicides.
Yeah,
now,
Roundup.
Now, it says you don't have to pay the lawyers. Now, is there any way that you could find out what this potential settlement may be? Because you may have so many other people in this settlement that you get $5.50.
Oh, that would be a high amount. Sometimes you get like 36 cents.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on where they are in the settlement negotiations. If there is a settlement, then yes, you could Google it and you should be able to find it fairly easily. The total amount, not how much each person will get. But if you're just getting notice that there is a class action, it probably means there's no settlement yet. Just that you may be a member of a class entitled to something once it does settle.
Yeah, the military said some people, I guess, who fire artillery weapons have got inferior earplugs, so their hearing was damaged. And the other was Roundup, that it may cause cancer.
Right. I know the Roundup one is not settled yet.
Yeah.
So that's just,
still going
I
on,
got a notice, too, that I may be a member of the class because I use Roundup quite a bit, actually. So I don't know how they knew that.
Yeah, it also says other herbicides, too. Another thing that's draining it is this constant advertising. So that's going to lessen the settlement, too. So you're saying there's no way to find out if you go through a lot of trouble, if you're...
Eventually, once
you go through hours of this, and you get 36 cents, it's not good worth your time.
You're not listening. Once there is a settlement, yes, you can easily find out how much it is. It's almost
how much you'll get,
in the media whenever there's a large class action settlement. But you can't find out how much you'll get till you actually get the amount.
Yeah.
But your question's a good one. The reason the law firms are doing this advertising is very simple. The more members they have of the class action suit, the more they get and the less the people involved in the class action suit get. And it's just a matter of making more money for the lawyers. Because,
I don't think that's true because it's a percentage of the overall settlement. But yes, the lawyers get way more than the people in the class.
I was going to say, you're talking about 30% or more in some cases. So
they get way more.
Yeah, but if you have 1,000 people in the class action suit, and it goes to 10,000, the people that are going to make more money are the lawyers, and the people involved in a class action suit will be diluted and get less.
Well, no, they won't get less. They're still going to get whatever they would get. But the lawyers do get way more because they get a percentage of the overall settlement.
Yeah, whether it's 10,000, whether it's
if there's 10,000. If there's
Shane,
10,000 people,
it won't help to say it again. I explained it.
Excuse me. If there's 10,000 people in the final settlement, whatever the amount is divided by 10,000 people.
No. The amount of settlement is determined by the number of people. It's not that if there's more people in the class, it dilutes the settlement. That's not true. If there's more people in the class, it makes the settlement larger. Because they have to pay for everybody's injuries.
Yeah, whatever the settlement is, regardless of how many people are in the suit, the attorney's going to get 30% of whether it's 10,000 or whether it's 10 million.
I understand that.
And the people are going to get the rest.
But it doesn't dilute what people get. They don't get much to begin with usually. Yeah. But it doesn't dilute it because if there's only 1,000, then the settlement's going to be less because they only have to pay for 1,000 people's injuries. If there's 10,000, then the settlement will be more because they have to pay for 10,000 people's injuries. It's not like it's going to be the same amount of settlement whether there's 1,000 or 10,000. That's not true.
Yeah, that won't work. So, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, Julian Assange.
Yeah.
Why not?
What an interesting guy. It's been kind of quiet for... I guess since he sought asylum in Ecuador, in the Ecuadorian embassy, I should say, Ecuador granted him asylum. He's been in the Ecuadorian embassy since August of 2012. Wow. I don't know that he's ever been out. In fact, Britain was stationing guards outside forever until about 2015. In case he did emerge from the embassy, they were going to arrest him. But I guess it'd be better to kind of go more chronologically regarding Julian Assange's life and troubles.
Right, yeah.
But what an interesting guy. Well, he is an Australian. I heard Shane say that earlier, and that is correct. Or at least that's how he started out in life. Yeah. And he became pretty early on. I think he started his first, maybe not accurate to call it a hacking business, but it turned into that like in 1989.
Yeah.
At the early onset of the internet being widely available and computers becoming more accessible for everybody. So that's kind of interesting. And he's had a couple of different organizations, a couple of different patents. And he also published one of his early feats, I guess, back in the 90s, was publishing a patent that I think the U.S. government got for listening to people, a listening device to listen to people. And he warned back then that this is the beginning of, the internet can be so informative and so helpful to everybody, but it also exposes us all to Big Brother, more or less.
That's right. His hacking name back then was Mendax, and he and two others that did it together, they were known as Prax and Prime Suspect.
So the reason why I think we all became familiar with him, which started around 2010, to tell you the truth, is because he started WikiLeaks, and it started publishing all of these top secret and confidential documents that were considered a breach of national security. And so some of those, I hope I can get all of these right, but one of the earliest ones, and if you remember, we heard it was in conjunction with somebody named, at the time we heard Bradley Manning, which we thought meant a man, but it was Chelsea Manning, which was a woman that helped him gain access to all of these.
Bradley became a woman.
Oh, really? Is that what it was? I thought it.
Yes.
I thought it was a man, but then so Bradley is now Chelsea.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's friends with Caitlyn Jenner.
I don't know.
And one of the reasons we talked about this several years ago, one of the reasons she turned on this case was in her settlement, the government would agree to pay for her physical sex change in prison, which costs about $250,000 if you're not having the government do it.
You know, that's ringing a bell, but I'd forgotten it. And it's making me pissed all over again.
I know, yeah. Your tax dollars at work.
All right, so the first thing they called it, or the one with Chelsea or Bradley Manning or whoever, was the collateral murder video, which was a video about airstrikes that the U.S. did in Baghdad in July of 2007, and it showed quite a few of U.S. Army soldiers talking about and joking about how they killed civilians and reporters and some other things. So bad press, if nothing else, yes. That I don't think was quite as classified, but the release was harmful, if you will, to the U.S. image, as most of the things that WikiLeaks has published. So that was one. And just so you know, though, Chelsea Manning did end up in prison. I can't remember how long she was supposed to have, but she served 7 years, and then President Obama commuted the rest of her sentence. So she is no longer in prison. But so another one that he published was things having to do with both the Afghanistan, it was called Afghanistan War Logs, and that was a large number of classified documents. Up until that time, actually, it was the most classified documents that ever got released at one time. But he soon topped that, because then he had the Iraq War Logs, and that was even more classified documents. And then another one that was very famous for him, I guess, because he's released a lot of confidential or otherwise not so open information. But this was interesting because he released 250,000 diplomatic cables, stretching, though, all the way back to the 1960s. And so there were comments on political events going on, world events going on at the time from leaders and ambassadors and even presidents. And so it was quite a bit, and that was a fascinating release. And I remember going through some of it back then. I don't really remember what I read, I'm sorry to say, but I remember just being fascinated. There's just no other way to put it. And then another one he released was the Guantanamo files, which, as you can imagine, that was a huge controversy for quite a while. It's kind of kept a low profile lately, although my understanding is it's all still there. The U.S. is still operating its base there, even though there's President Obama wanted to pull out entirely. So
still there,
still has prisoners from, I think, mostly Iraq and a little of Afghanistan, but I think mostly Iraq. So
maybe some ISIS people too, probably.
So
anyway.
The question is, okay, so we have Chelsea Manning, who was charged and convicted of espionage, among other...
Whoa. Just 1 second.
Okay.
Let's not stop there. The biggest releases that have the most controversial effect on your history and your republic is the 2016 Democratic National Committee
I'm getting to that.
She's getting to that.
But that's not in the same chronology as all this other stuff.
I've called. That's the most applicable right now.
It's the things that I just talked about that led to him being mostly a wanted person. So he actually ended up taking asylum because, this is really interesting as well, he was being investigated in Sweden for sexual assault charges. He was actually charged with those. And he was in England at the time, and he was arrested in England, and he was going to be extradited to Sweden, and he posted bail, or friends of his posted bail, and after 2 years, because that was in 2010, after 2 years, he lost his block. He wanted to block the extradition. He lost. And so what did he do? He went to the Ecuadorian embassy and sought asylum there. And so he, in essence, jumped bail, even though he's still in England. And so that's what England has wanted him for all this time, is for jumping bail. And so, in fact, that is what he was arrested for yesterday. The Ecuadorian embassy decided, or the president, the current president, because it was a different president that granted him asylum, decided to revoke it. They invited British police into the embassy, and he was arrested for jumping bail. Now, yesterday it was also revealed, though, there is an open indictment, and it had been sealed until yesterday in the United States for him, but on a fairly minor charge, which is, I think, computer hacking, or I can't think of the actual legal name for it right now. I'll probably think of it later. And it carries like a maximum of 5 years. But he has been indicted in the United States, and there are probably going to be other indictments. Now, the statute of limitations is running out on a lot of that stuff. And so that is where 2016 may or may not come into play. The problem with 2016 is that there weren't the release of necessarily confidential documents like there were back in 2010, et cetera. So it should be an interesting legal dance to see what goes on. And I think Sweden, even though they dropped the charges against them a couple of years ago, I think they're starting probably the same investigation, but doing it again.
Yeah, they wanted him back, I think. But
I think they do.
Yeah, we got to take a break. We'll be right back with more with Jennifer and Shane and myself right after this. It is 22 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock, Friday, April 12th, 2019, 35 degrees outside. Shane and Tallman on the line. Tom Eagle off your morning mayor, and law babe Jennifer Bordy in the house. And I was asking Jennifer off the air if she was going to defend Julian Assange, what her defense would be.
The same one that Al Pacino used at the end of Injustice for All. He's guilty. He's guilty. No.
Well, we were talking about, if you hack into things, you're stealing property.
Yes, that is the crime. That's not called hacking. It might be in Australia, which, by the way, he actually was convicted of in Australia back in the 90s.
Yeah. But, and you were saying, well, he wasn't really hacking. He was releasing information, giving him to.
Yeah, a lot of the ones we just talked about. Now, the emails from Hillary Clinton, that is, I believe, hacking. Yeah. And we will talk about that. Yeah. Probably right now.
Well, the other thing we were talking about is that receiving stolen property if he gets it from somebody else.
I don't think anybody has actually thought of that. They've looked at the bigger picture, if you will, I guess, about the nature of the documents he received.
Yeah. Well, they got Al Capone for tax evasion. It's where you go where the charge leads you. I guess
I guess that's true. So, as Shane pointed out, he did have a definite hand. Whether Russia did or not remains to be seen, or not. Actually, I think that's been resolved. But at any rate, that during the 2016 Democratic Party presidential primaries, WikiLeaks hosted emails sent and or received by candidate Hillary Clinton from her private email server when she was Secretary of State. And lest you forget, though, this was actually also investigated by the FBI and probably somewhat akin to the Mueller investigation. It came away saying there wasn't anything to prosecute her over.
I was going to say between the Gonzales, wherever that place was where they killed the 4 people, Benghazi.
Oh,
couldn't find it.
Got it.
And
yes,
her 11 hours of testimony on.
I think there's still huge questions about that have never been satisfactorily
about her
answered.
computers and private use of computers and Blackberries and all that stuff.
All right, so Julian,
receiving information about stolen information is really important here.
Yeah,
because in June 30th, 1971. New York Times versus the United States on the Pentagon Papers. The vote was 6-3 by the Supreme Court, and all 9 justices wrote different opinions. And the most important opinion that was written stated that the press receiving stolen information has a right to publish it. So unless they can prove that he directly stole anything, then he is not guilty of anything because he claims everything he's ever released. Well, no, that's not true. He's
not guilty of anything. He's not guilty of receiving stolen property.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's right. But the point is, unless they can prove that he published something he stole, then he's going to get off because there's precedent because of.
Well, no, there's still because of this already. There's still other laws that the prosecutors are looking into whether or not he violated. One being the Espionage Act of 1917. So there are other laws, but that particular law, correct. That's probably why it hasn't been brought up, and I forgot about that actually. But that case, I should say. But
I would say I would go into the value of the danger of releasing the information.
Exactly.
Would be something that
you're still,
it
still can be espionage, whether no matter how you receive the information, because you are publishing, hang on, Shane, because you're publishing confidential, classified information.
Okay, Shane, go.
Under the New York Times, United States Pentagon Papers decision by the Supreme Court, those two were national security documents. Those two were similar documents that he received from third parties and published. And then another justice wrote to that fact that under the terms of free speech and free press, there are occasions where the government is not allowing the free right of knowledge of the American people. And therefore, what you're referencing is other ways for them to charge him. He probably will not again be found guilty of. So this is a major decision, and it covers the Pentagon Papers. You know, this is where Nixon got in trouble with the White House.
But he's not a journalist. He's not a newspaper.
Of course, is the defense that he will raise is freedom of the press, among other things like that, but along those lines. Okay. And he will probably try to rely on precedent. But again, the enormity and the scale of this, there are prosecutors looking into it, and he may or may not get charged with more than what he's been charged with so far.
And the condition of the court and the condition of society is a lot different than it was in '71 with the Vietnam War and the mistrust of government and the Nixon and all of that stuff going on at the same time. Let's take a phone call, and we'll be right back. Caller, you on the air. What's going on?
Hey, this is Aaron. I love you, Shane, but Julian Assange ain't an American citizen. He doesn't get constitutional protection.
Well, he does, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's going to get charged in the United States and tried in the United States, he gets, I don't know if I want to say the benefit of our constitutional rights, but he certainly gets to allege them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand. I mean, he wasn't even on the U.S. soil when he did it, so it is kind of espionage.
But it involves U.S. information and confidential and classified documents. So part of it, hang on. Part of it is considered to have occurred in the United States, and that's all you need to tie any kind of crime to wherever you want to try it. If at least part of the crime occurred there.
Go, Shane.
And I'm not trying to defend him. I don't disagree that some of what he's done is wrong. But the bottom line that I see here is Crazygate, Crisisgate, and Panicgate. Because this is all about 2016 and whether he comes forward with the missing emails that he may or may not have of Hillary Clinton's. And that's why everybody in your country is going bonkers over this, because this is as big as what Barr said this week. You know, because if Barr starts investigating, he'll have to look into what Assange did as well.
Okay, go ahead.
But I disagree with your characterization, because this all started way before 2016.
It did.
So. But it's a part of it, and I haven't had a chance yet to explain what part it has in it.
Well,
which we'll do when we come back.
That's why we have another half hour to go. All right. We're having a spirited discussion here with Julian Assange. What's legal, what's not legal, who's going to be charged, who's not going to be charged. So we'll continue the conversation after the break at the bottom of the hour. Thanks for Jennifer being here. Thanks for Shane. Thanks for me. And we'll be back with more with Jennifer right after this. 25 minutes before the top of the hour. It is Friday, April 12th, 2019, 35 degrees outside. Shane Mataman on the line. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor, and Jennifer Bordy, law babe, is in the house. And we've been talking about Julian Assange, and is he guilty? Is he not guilty? Will he be charged? Will he not be charged? Will he?
Well, he's been charged with something.
Well, will he skate, or do we know, or do we care?
Do we care? That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I'll have to think about that one. All right. Well, let's finish talking about what happened in 2016 with the Democratic primary and the release of emails from Hillary Clinton on her private server when she was Secretary of State. Mm-hmm. So the Democratic Party, yes, they were probably the first ones to cry, Russia, Russia was involved. but also cybersecurity experts, the ones that can trace IP addresses and all that stuff. And I don't know how they do it, but they also agreed that it was tied to Russia. Now, Julian Assange always said it was not tied to Russia, but he does have some ties to Russia, which are interesting to note. For example, in 2012, he actually had a television show on a Russian television station.
All right.
So, and I think it was even called Russia Today. So he's definitely got some ties to Russia. He also, and this is more speculation, I guess, if you will, but there are observers of the emails that say that it's pretty obvious that anything having to do with Russia is absent from the emails, and therefore unlikely that Hillary would not have said anything about Russia. So the fact that they may have been edited out of the rest of the emails is something that also suggests that there is some Russia influence. But on the plus side, I guess, as far as Julian Assange himself is concerned, he was not in favor of either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump for president. So I won't repeat the quote he used about the choice. Very graphic and vivid.
The lesser of two evils is a nice way to put it.
Yeah. Probably equal evils.
Equal evils.
He felt, that also reminds me of the lesser of two evils is still evil.
Yeah, that's true.
At any rate, so, I mean, he wasn't necessarily in favor. His business is exposing things that people aren't supposed to be exposed to. That's what he did. Whether or not he had any opinion or an opinion in favor of either one of the candidates. And at that time, actually, when this started, there wasn't yet an official Republican nominee or an official Democrat nominee for president in 2016. So there's that is going on as part of 2016. And obviously, the Mueller investigation would have looked into, I mean, that's what it was about. Whether or not this had anything to do with Russia was the instigation for the investigation. And so obviously I think his report has got to have covered some of that. And especially, I mean, I think it says, as we've all discussed probably ad nauseum the last couple of weeks, that it didn't come out that there was any collusion with Russia, but that doesn't mean that there wasn't some tie to Russia being behind the release of the emails. I don't know if they will say that or not.
One of the big things, though, that came out of those emails, because Podesta's emails were the ones released, and the emails between him and his brother, who was a lobbyist for Russia and being paid $26 million at the time to lobby the Obama administration to reduce sanctions against Russia. So there's your Russian connection right there, the Podesta brothers. So there you go.
Okay. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you on the air. What's going on?
Well, good morning, people.
Hey, Pete.
Good morning, Pete.
You know, I find it interesting that when all this leaking, okay, Julian Assange they've never proved anything that he leaked not to be factually correct, unlike CNN and MSNBC and all the rest of them and all the other leakers that were in the intelligence agencies in this country.
You know, that's a good point, and I thought to myself, actually, I wondered if, like with defamation or slander, is truth the defense?
Yeah.
But I don't think so. But I did have that thought, just so you know.
If you listen to William Binet, who was NSA way up, they found out, or when they did their investigating, that the time of the download, there was no way that it was done across the internet. The internet speeds were just not there for that amount of information to be leaked in that amount of time, that it had to have gone to a thumb drive and everything. And of course, that's the connection to Mr. Rich, Seth Rich. And I also find it interesting that in the news break, the Brits Parliament are against having him extradited to the U.S. And I'm wondering if maybe it's the U.S. that doesn't want to extradite him, because that they could open up a can of worms that maybe nobody's going to be happy with.
Well, I believe that if the U.S. itself doesn't want to extradite him, that is the perception, because that is why Ecuador granted him asylum, because of the potential for him to be extradited to the U.S. and I forget the exact language, but that is why they granted him asylum, in case he was going to be, because the thought was that really Sweden just wanted him because Sweden would have aided in his extradition to the U.S. And so
I think the whole Sweden thing, Jennifer, is a trumped up deal. You know, they wanted to get this guy out of the way, and it wasn't just the U.S.
Well, he also has some sexual offense charges pending in the U.S. There is another indictment I forgot to say.
In Sweden, too.
He's got 2 open indictments in the U.S. We didn't know about the one for hacking into a government computer till yesterday. It had been under seal, but he had one for some sex offense, I think also in North Carolina or somewhere there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. To me, you know, when you got an unsecured computer or hard drive or whatever Hillary had, her little box in the closet, you know, she's just as culpable as anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, and here's a woman that lost.
Well, yeah, that's why the FBI investigated her to see if she had broken a law by using her private email server for emails that had to do with her being Secretary of State.
Well, I think that's pretty cut and dry there as far as I'm
yeah,
concerned.
that's a good point.
I think that's been made.
I mean, you got a woman here, and I've said this before. She lost 8 BlackBerries. Yeah. Now, I tried to find out through the internet searching if any of those 8 BlackBerries were ever found. And
well, I can tell you something interesting, which we brought to everyone's attention in 2015. The RCMP announced in 2015 that they had the backdoor code for the BlackBerry. So if anybody wants to know where the 30,000 emails are, they should call the RCMP, because I would bet they have them.
There you are.
Well, were any of the BlackBerries ever found, Pete?
Yeah, if they were ever found, if they ever found any of them, because let's go back to the old spy movies and the you know, the dead drops. I mean, a BlackBerry can hold a whole pile of information, a whole pile.
Yeah.
And so you know, she gets up, leaves it on her seat, and the guy sitting two chairs down walks by and just picks it up, slips it in his pocket, and you know, you've got oodles and oodles of information on that BlackBerry. And that's why I was interested if any of the ones she lost had been found, and it would be kind of odd if none of them were. You would think that they'd be able to find one.
Well, you point out why I can never be Secretary of State. I lose my phone all the time, and I don't get it back.
There you are, Pete.
Well, you don't lose it, Jennifer. You misplace it. It's just misplaced. It's not lost.
Somebody in Walmart in particular has my phone.
All right. We'll be right back with more frivolity after this. 13 minutes for the top of the hour. Rush Update will be coming up shortly. Shane Batalman on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagle, your morning mayor. Law Babe, Jennifer Bordy in the house. And, well, we've been talking about Julian Assange. And for the benefit of people who don't know, he's been in the Ecuadorian embassy in London for 7 years
almost.
Yeah. He's been roaming the halls of that area. And
one of the things the new president said is, hey, we're not a hotel.
Yeah.
Out you go, darling.
Out you go, yeah. And, of course, a lot of people, I think, saw the images of him being escorted out.
Yeah, he didn't look too good.
He didn't look like he wanted to go.
I guess he hasn't been sneaking out and about in London, or he'd looked better than that, probably.
I was going to say, I don't think he didn't look like he wanted to go very badly, and they're kind of pushing him into the police van, and they're kind of keeping him in there, and he's screaming as he's going out, for whatever, but...
So you got to wonder, though, because he had a computer in the Ecuadorian embassy, and obviously 2016 he was in the embassy. Yeah. So if they were able to find something to charge him with for releasing those emails, Hillary Clinton's emails in 2016, which I think doesn't look very promising, to tell you the truth. But if they were, then there's a question. So does that make Ecuador aiding and abetting him in that? But probably not. But I'm just throwing that out there as a possibility.
From our text line, 478-8298, Sweden dropped the charges, but we've talked about they may revisit those.
Exactly. They did drop the charges like 2 years ago, sometime in 2017. But they are apparently, as I said, I don't understand exactly how this works. I don't know Swedish law. they're investigating him on some other more minor sex offenses that the statute of limitations hasn't run on. I can't imagine why it would have run on more major offenses, but not on more minor offenses. But that's what I read. So, but the question is, and will the British hold them on its own charge, which is just jumping bail? And usually is not a very severe penalty. It usually can add like maybe 5 years, at least in the U.S. In most states, it adds about 5 years if to anything you might get for other things. But since those particular charges were dropped in Sweden, by the way, that doesn't affect whether or not he committed the crime of jumping bail. No. Because just because those charges from Sweden have been dismissed, and that's what he posted bail on, doesn't mean he still isn't guilty or could be found guilty of the crime of jumping bail in Britain.
Let's take a quick call. We got to take a break. Caller, you are on the air.
Oh, hey, it's Kevin.
Yep, Kevin.
Hey, guys, two things. One, back to Hillary. You know, we keep talking about Hillary, breaking up her phones and using the off-site server, but we never say why, and that's more important because of all the stuff she was trying to hide. I mean, it could go, from the pay-to-play, the foundation money, the kickbacks, that foreign governments were paying them for in return for her Secretary of State and maybe being president, Benghazi. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, that's the real thing. She didn't want government oversight using a government website, so she used her own. So if there was not FISA, but what's the where they can request information from government?
Oh, Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah, Freedom of Information. That she wouldn't have to hand it over because all the stuff on her government stuff would have been just the day-to-day stuff. So
but some of the things you're talking about wouldn't have been Secretary of State emails. Like if she's trying to hide things about her personally receiving kickbacks and things like that. So those wouldn't necessarily have to do with Secretary of State business. And the problem that gave rise to the investigation, at least, and the possibility of charges against her was the fact that she used a private email server for government business, in other words.
Well, right, and that's the thing. Because she got rid of it, too, we have no idea what was on there. They were subpoenaed by the FBI, and then she decided to get rid of the evidence, because obviously there was a ton of stuff on there that would have implicated her in a whole ton of stuff, and Obama, by the way, I bet, because he was emailing her. Who knows what was involved there.
But at the time...
Okay, go for it.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm getting my.
One thing I was going to point out is that they used the name Steve Wilson or something like that. They used some Wilson name for Hillary Clinton when she was doing these emails. So I don't know.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. And then just quickly, the second thing is, and I know you guys didn't say it, but it's maybe Assange did. You said Donald Trump is evil. I think we've got to redefine what the word evil means. I mean, evil is Hitler. Evil is ISIS who cut someone's head off with a 6-inch knife.
There you are.
Donald Trump is not evil, whether you like him or not. And the proof is in the pudding of what he's done, which has been pretty good. Even if you don't, or if you're a Democrat and you don't like necessarily the politics, we got to stop throwing around the words evil. I mean, this is kind of ridiculous.
There you go. Hey, thanks, Kevin.
Well, he didn't call him evil, but he did call him something pretty bad.
There you go. I got to take a break.
And Hillary, for that matter.
Got to take a break. Everybody wants to hear the Rush update. Here's Rush. Kids, 3 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen. Jennifer Bordy, the law babe in the house. Shane Matobin on the line. From Vancouver, British Columbia, Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor in the house. And we've been talking about Julian Assange. And the best shows are when there's no answer.
Which there isn't. This is a wait-and-see situation.
Well, it is. It is a wait-and-see if the extradition will take place. And if so, what will he be charged with? And what will his defense be? And
well, we know some of what he's charged with already in the U.S., but it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure there are prosecutors right now scrambling to see if there's more.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. The more charges you can bring, obviously, the better it's going to be for the prosecutors to, as I said, they got Al Capone on tax evasion, not murder or bootlegging or racketeering or drugs or anything else. So, but let's see what the callers have to say. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you are on the air. What's going on?
Good morning.
Good morning,
everybody.
Yeah.
I would like to ask Hillary just one question.
Does she really forgive Bill?
No, I would like to ask one question of her with hooked up to a lie detector.
And what is that question?
did you commit treason?
Well, she'd say no.
Because when she was on the airplane and stuff, when they're waiting for results, she says if that B gets in, we'll all hang. So why would the person say that if subconsciously they had done something that would deserve hanging?
Well, it might have been an exaggeration, like when you say you're going to kill someone over something they said or did. But I otherwise, I can't answer that. She probably doesn't view anything she did as treason, though, so she would probably pass a lie detector on that.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you get rid of 30,000 emails and all kinds of devices if those things weren't completely damning to a point?
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, one thing that probably never helps in the legal system is to say, what if?
Yeah. All right, I got to go. Hey, thanks for the call. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Say goodbye, Shane.
Goodbye, Mayor. Look forward to speaking with you on Monday. Hello, Jennifer, and everyone. Have a great weekend, and as always, be happy, be safe.
All right. Thanks, man. All right, Jennifer, thanks very much for being here.
Okay,
appreciate
thanks for having me.
Glad you're here. We appreciate you very much, and we know you've been through a tough time, and we know you're tough enough to get by it. So our thoughts and prayers are with you. So, all right, that does it for us. We'll see everybody bright and early Monday morning. It's finally Friday, 6 a.m. Tune in then.